The air in Mr. Douglas's office was thick with silence. The smell of polished wood and old books filled the room as my family sat together, dressed in black. My mother, Margaret Clark, sat at the center with her handkerchief pressed to her lips. My siblings, Richard, Evelyn, and Daniel, sat on either side of her, whispering in low tones. I sat at the far end, alone, waiting anxiously for my late father's will to be read. Mr. Douglas, the family lawyer, adjusted his glasses and unfolded the document. Your father, Mr. Anthony Clark, left behind a detailed will, he began. His voice was calm but carried a weight that made my heart pound harder. He started reading, To my beloved wife Margaret, I leave our family home and half of my savings. To my eldest son, Richard, I leave my company shares and business rights. To my daughter, Evelyn, I leave the farmland and the rental properties. To my youngest son, Daniel, I leave the vehicles and the remaining savings. I sat upright, waiting. My name would surely be next. But after those words, Mr. Douglas cleared his throat, folded the paper, and said, That concludes the reading of the will. My whole body went cold. Excuse me, sir, I said, my voice breaking. You didn't mention my name. What did my father leave for me? Mr. Douglas looked at me with a kind of sorrow that cut deeper than anger. I am sorry, Lily. Your father did not include your name in the will. The words struck me like thunder. My chest tightened, and tears blurred my vision. My own father had left me nothing, not even a single penny, while my siblings and mother inherited everything. My siblings shifted uncomfortably. Richard smirked faintly. Evelyn kept her eyes down. Daniel avoided looking at me. And my mother, Margaret, held her handkerchief tighter but did not speak a word in my defense. For the first time, I felt like a stranger in my own family. When we left Mr. Douglas's office, the sky was already darkening. My siblings walked close to my mother, whispering among themselves, while I trailed behind like a stranger. Every step I took felt heavy. The will had not only denied me material inheritance, it had declared in black and white that my father's love had skipped over me. That night at home, while everyone was busy checking papers and making plans about what they would do with their inheritance, I sat alone in my room staring at the ceiling. My father's laughter still echoed in my head. He used to tell me, Lily, you are my bright light. How could that same man erase me so completely? The house no longer felt like mine. The next morning, I walked into the living room and found Richard sipping coffee, his legs stretched out like he already owned the house. Well, sister, he smirked, seems like Dad knew where real responsibility lay. Maybe that's why he left you out. You were always the dreamer, not the doer. I clenched my fists. Richard, you're cruel. Do you even hear yourself? He shrugged. I'm just speaking facts. Don't expect us to share anything with you. What's written is written. His words burned into my chest like fire. I left the room before tears could spill. Later that day, Evelyn came quietly to my room. She sat beside me and placed her hand on mine. Lily, please don't be angry with me, she whispered. I didn't expect Dad to do this. I don't know why he left you out. I looked into her eyes, searching for honesty. Then say something, Evelyn. Speak up. Tell them it's unfair. She lowered her head. You know Richard and Mum. They won't listen to me. I don't want more fights. Her cowardice cut me deeper than Richard's arrogance. A week later, Margaret called everyone to the dining table. Papers and documents were spread before her. We need to discuss how to divide responsibilities now, she said firmly. Richard will oversee the company. Evelyn will manage the farmland. Daniel, you'll take care of the cars and savings. And me, Mum? I asked softly. She looked at me for a long moment before replying, Lily, there is nothing assigned to you. Nothing. My voice cracked. Yes, she said bluntly. You must learn to stand on your own 2 feet. Everyone else nodded. No one stood for me. That evening, Daniel found me sitting outside by the garden. Lily, he began awkwardly, don't take it too personally. Maybe Dad thought you would marry a rich man. You've always been different from us. Different, I repeated bitterly. Or unwanted. Daniel shifted uncomfortably and left without answering. A few days later, Mr. Douglas came to the house with more documents. After the meeting, I pulled him aside. Mr. Douglas, I pleaded, tell me honestly, did my father ever mention me at all? In any draft? He sighed heavily. Lily, there was an earlier draft where he had written your name, leaving you a portion of the farmland. But weeks before his death, he removed it. I don't know why. My knees almost gave way. He had thought of me, then erased me. When I confronted my mother, her response was like ice. Why are you torturing yourself with this, Lily? Your father had his reasons. Stop asking questions. But Mum, I begged, you're my mother too. Don't you care that I was left out? She turned her face away. You will survive. Her indifference hurt more than any insult. Word spread quickly in town. Neighbors whispered whenever I passed. Did you hear? Anthony Clark's daughter was left with nothing. She must have done something terrible. The shame followed me everywhere. I could no longer hold my head high. One night, Evelyn sneaked into my room again. Lily, don't tell anyone, she whispered, but Dad told me something months before he died. He said he doubted whether you truly belonged to him. I froze. What are you saying? I don't know, she stammered. Maybe it was his illness speaking. But he said strange things about Mum and about you. My world spun. Could this be why I was erased? The next day, I went through my father's study. Old letters, journals, photographs, anything that might explain his decision. At the bottom of a drawer, I found a torn envelope with my name written on it. But the letter inside was missing. Someone had taken it. When Richard caught me searching, he slammed the drawer shut. Looking for treasure that doesn't belong to you, he sneered. That letter had my name, I snapped. He leaned closer, his eyes cold. Drop it, Lily, or you'll regret digging where you don't belong. I went back to Mr. Douglas, desperate for clarity. Mr. Douglas, please, I begged. Did my father ever leave me a letter? His face darkened. Yes, but it never reached you. Someone collected it before the funeral. Who? I demanded. He hesitated. Your mother. That night, I confronted Margaret. You took Father's letter to me, I accused. She froze, then finally admitted. Yes, I did. Because what he wrote would only hurt you more. He questioned things that should remain buried. I shook my head in disbelief. You had no right to take his last words from me. Her silence was an admission. Evelyn could no longer hold back. Lily, she whispered one evening, tears in her eyes, I think Richard knows more than he admits. Dad trusted him with secrets. Please be careful. I realized then that my fight was not just about money, it was about truth. One afternoon, as I walked through town, an old man stopped me. You're Anthony's girl, aren't you? He asked. Yes, I replied warily. He looked at me with pity. Your father once told me he feared lies would tear his family apart. Be careful, child. The truth is hidden in places you least expect. His words haunted me. Daniel, once silent, began to show signs of guilt. Lily, he confessed one night, I overheard Dad arguing with Mum before his death. He said something about protecting the others from the truth about you. I didn't understand then, but now. His voice broke. Maybe we've all been living a lie. When Richard learned that Daniel had spoken to me, he exploded. "You fool!" he shouted at him. "Why can't you keep your mouth shut?" I stepped forward. "Why are you so afraid of me knowing the truth, Richard? What are you hiding?" His face twisted with anger. "Stay out of it, Lily, or you'll regret it." By now, I was no longer the broken girl left out of the will. I had questions burning inside me, and I would not rest until I uncovered the truth. If my father erased me, there was a reason. And if my family was hiding something, I would find it, even if it meant tearing down every wall they built around me. For the first time, I felt a spark of rebellion in my chest. They could deny me money. They could deny me inheritance. But they could not deny me the truth. Days later, while everyone was out, I sneaked into my mother's room. Her drawers smelled of lavender soap and old paper. Beneath folded clothes, I found a locked wooden box. My hands trembled as I picked the lock with a hairpin. Inside were letters, yellowed with age. One envelope had my name on it. I pulled it out, my heart pounding. It was my father's handwriting. With shaky hands, I read the words. "My dear Lily, if you are reading this, it means I am gone. Forgive me. Forgive me for the doubt that has clouded my heart. For years I wondered if you were truly mine." Margaret's silence fed my fears. I wanted to test, to know the truth, but time betrayed me. I loved you as my daughter, yet my weakness made me strike your name out of my will. It was not justice, it was fear. If you are not mine by blood, you are still mine by heart. Tears blurred my eyes. My father had loved me, yet his doubt destroyed me. That evening, I stormed into the living room, the letter clutched in my fist. "You hid this from me!" I screamed at Margaret. Her face paled. Richard and Evelyn rushed in, startled. "What letter?" Richard demanded. I threw it at him. He read, and his jaw clenched. Margaret trembled, tears welling up. "Lily, I was unfaithful once, many years ago. Your father found out. He could never forgive me completely. That is why he doubted you." The room spun around me. Evelyn covered her mouth, shocked. "Mom, how could you? All these years." Margaret collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "I was young, foolish. It happened once. But Lily, whether by blood or not, you are mine. I carried you, I raised you." But her confession only tore me further apart. Richard's eyes burned with anger. So she might not even be Dad's child? No wonder he left her nothing. "Richard!" Evelyn shouted, horrified. But he continued, pointing at me. "You don't belong here. You're the reason Dad died in doubt. You've brought shame to this family." His words cut me like knives. For the first time, Daniel stood up. "Enough, Richard. Blood or not, Lily is our sister. She deserves respect." Richard scoffed. "You're too soft. She's nothing to us." I looked at Daniel with tears in my eyes. "Thank you, at least someone sees me." The story spread like wildfire. Neighbors who once whispered about my inheritance now whispered about my bloodline. Anthony Clark's daughter may not be his at all. Everywhere I went, I carried invisible chains of shame. But inside me, something hardened. I would not let their gossip destroy me. One night, Evelyn knocked on my door. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "Lily," she whispered, "I don't care what anyone says. You are my sister. I was too weak before, but I won't abandon you now." I hugged her tightly, finally feeling a spark of warmth in that cold house. Meanwhile, Richard began plotting. He told Margaret, "We must cut Lily off completely. If she stays here, she'll fight for what doesn't belong to her." Margaret shook her head weakly. "She has nowhere else to go." "That's not my problem," Richard snapped. "She's not one of us." I overheard every word from the hallway. That night, Richard confronted me directly. Pack your things, Lily. You're leaving this house by tomorrow. My heart pounded. You can't throw me out of my own home. It's not your home, he sneered. Not anymore. I stood my ground. You may have Dad's money, but I have his love. And nothing you say will erase that. The next morning, Daniel shocked everyone. He announced, if Lily leaves, I leave too. I won't live in a house that rejects its own. Evelyn nodded. Me too. She stays or I go. For the first time, Richard looked shaken. His power was slipping. Margaret called us together. Her face was weary, her voice weak. I am ashamed of my past. I caused this pain. But I will not allow my children to be torn apart any longer. Lily will stay. Blood or not, she is part of this family. Richard stormed out, furious. Days passed. The house was tense, but I felt lighter. I began taking small jobs in town, earning my own money. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for an inheritance. I was building my own future. Evelyn often helped me. Daniel encouraged me. Even Margaret tried to make amends. The wound of betrayal was deep, but slowly I was healing. Months later, Richard's arrogance led to his downfall. He mismanaged the company, made reckless deals, and soon lost most of his shares. The same townspeople who once praised him now whispered about his failure. One evening, he came home drunk, slamming doors. All of you turned against me, he shouted. But no one listened anymore. His power was gone. On the anniversary of my father's death, I visited his grave alone. I placed flowers and whispered through tears, Dad, you doubted me, but I forgive you. I am stronger now. You gave me nothing in your will, but in truth, you gave me everything. Courage, love, and a reason to rise above. As the wind rustled through the trees, I felt a strange peace. I no longer needed wealth or validation. I had discovered something far more valuable. That even when the world denies you, you can create your own place, your own worth, and your own inheritance. And in that moment, I walked away from the grave, not as the forgotten daughter, but as Lily Clark, the woman who had found herself.